Hey, this is Corey from Wolfpack Woodcraft, and this week we're looking at a kid's book. This is Survive and Thrive, a pocket guide to wilderness safety skills, plus 16 quick check skill cards. So this is a children's book, and it's in like a plastic thing so that it can handle the elements and be beat up a little bit. It zips closed, and then it comes with cards. So in the front here, I have cards that deal with Minnesota. So I have a black bear and a grizzly bear. We don't have grizzly bear, but it's nice to know the difference between a black bear and a grizzly bear. Mountain lion, poison ivy, poison oak, poison sumac, a moose, a snapping turtle, leeches, black flies, mosquitoes, ticks, stinging nettle. And so these are the cards that we look at, and then in the back I have the other cards that come with it that we don't deal with here in Minnesota. So we have an alligator, no, I'm not from the south, a gilly monster, water moccasin, I know that one, copperhead, and a rattlesnake. And so these ones we don't deal with here in Minnesota. I know people down south deal with them, but I've never seen any of these except an alligator. I went to Mississippi one time and I went to an alligator farm and saw an alligator. I've never seen a wild one. But this book, like I said, is a kid's book, so it comes with the flashcards to help identify animals and things that are dangerous, and so that's pretty cool. And then the other thing is that because it's a kid's book, it has lots of pictures and a lot of little blurbs, and it's got good information like how to use a map and compass, how to make shelter. But because it's a kid's book, the shelter, it's not like they talk about primitive shelters, but it's mostly about like how to set up tents, tarp shelters. And so for kids, this thing is awesome. It talks about fishing, it talks about what to do in different like weather conditions. Again, it's not going to talk about tornadoes and hurricanes and stuff like that. It's more just going to talk about rainstorm versus a thunderstorm. And what I really enjoy about this book is it touches on a lot of different things, and it keeps it simple, right? So it does touch on primitive shelters, which I like because it gives me the opportunity, like when I'm talking about primitive shelters, my son knows what I'm talking about. You know what I mean? Or if I'm trying to teach him something, I can use words because this book told him what those words mean and explained it in a very simple way. And so when I'm telling him something, he knows what I'm talking about, right? We take that for granted sometimes. Sometimes we just assume that everybody knows what a primitive shelter is. But somebody that has never been out in the woods and just sits and plays video games all the time, they have no idea what a primitive shelter is. They can't even imagine it in their mind because they literally have never heard of it or anything. And so all these simple phrases, simple terms that we use, or even like a tarp shelter, you can use your imagination and be like, okay, so it's some kind of a shelter with a tarp. But this book allows them to be like, oh, okay, so there's like a teepee, there's like you can put it this way or that way, or there's 100 different ways of making a tarp shelter. Or somebody that's not experienced might just say a tarp shelter is just a ridge line with a tarp coming down. That might be the only thing that they think of. But when I bring up tarp shelters to my son, he knows that there's a bunch of different ways of doing it. And so he knows to ask me, which one are you doing? Why are you choosing that one? And it gives him the opportunity to ask intelligent questions. And so with that being said, let's go over it. Time spent. Was it worth the time spent reading? Yes. I read this to my son when he was younger. Now he reads it for school sometimes. And both of us really enjoy this book. Is it easy to read, easy to pick up and get into? Yes, it's a kid's book, so it's very easy to read. You can sit down and you can read it very quickly. There's also like recipes and stuff in here, so there's activities that you can try. And so I really enjoy this book. My 8-year-old son can read it. What I learned with the time spent. I didn't learn much from this book because this is knowledge that I had already had. but for somebody that's just getting started, somebody that's a child, somebody that has kids, you will learn a lot from this book. And more importantly, you will learn what to Google. I talk about that all the time. You will be able to ask intelligent questions to get even more knowledge out of it. So I really like it for that. Enjoy having, happy to add to the collection. I am happy to add this to the collection. Even just these cards, you know, when we go out to places, I'll show him the difference between a black fly and a tick, and, you know, and so that if he sees a tick on him, he knows that he needs to get it off, or he needs to come to get me right away so that I can take it off of him, because you don't want the head stuck under the skin, right? And because of these little flashcards alone, I'm able to, one, remember to tell him, and two, show him what they look like so that he has a better understanding of what he's looking for. So I'm really glad that I have it. Aesthetics, Nature and Appreciation of Beauty. It's a good looking book. There's a lot of pictures. There's a lot of things in here that explain what it is you're reading, knots and all the basics. So really good book. I'm actually going to give this one an 8 out of 10. I would suggest this. If you have kids, I would suggest this book. If you have never spent a night in the woods, if you have no idea what survival skills or survival preparedness or anything looks like, this is a good book for you too. Pick it up, go through it real quick, and again, it'll show you the pictures, it'll show you the different things, it will talk to you about different techniques, and then you can go and you can advance your knowledge from here. So I really, really like this book. So with that being said, leave any knowledge or questions in that comment section down below. Do you have any kids books that are good? I try to avoid the like Mickey Mouse camping where they like go fishing for smiles, and you know what I mean. It's hard to find kids books that are actually about real camping and real survival. So if you have any experience with that, leave it in the comment section down below, and I can't wait to see you on my next video.